youtube.com/chatsportstv. Harrison Graham, Chase Sr., Tom Downey, Mitchell Renz. You see us all the time with NBA coverage, NFL coverage. We have a lot of fun. If you like NBA news and rumors, hit that big red button and subscribe today. First up, Franco, dream fit for OKC in the draft besides Cade Cunningham. OKC should draft players that maybe they're not ready as rookies. They should take chances on higher ceiling guys because I think they're 2-3 years away from really contending there.
And they can afford to do so because they have a bevy of picks.
Yep.
So I'm looking at the wing, forward, and center spots for OKC.
Try gaming prime Melo or prime Dwight. How about current versions of both? People sleep on prime Dwight. There was a time in the NBA that he was maybe the greatest force in the league for about a year and a half. Like that I don't know if that's an exaggeration. Like Dwight Howard was a beast for a while. Can we ever say the same about Melo in the league? I think it's a fair question. Now, Melo was better for longer. There's no question, and especially among all-time greats, but you're talking about peak of both. Who had a bigger impact? It might have been Dwight.
I think it was Dwight. I think both are Hall of Famers.
Agreed.
But from 2006, which was Dwight Howard's second year, until 2015 when he started to run into injury issues, the guy averaged almost 19 points, 13 rebounds, and more than 2 blocks a night. So Dwight Howard, people sleep on him. They also sleep on Melo. Like, Melo gets bashed because of his lack of playoff success, which is real, just like it is for quarterbacks in the NFL. But I will say this, too, about both. They're aging well. Carmelo is a pretty good, secondary third option for the Trailblazers, and Dwight this year has been pretty good backing up Embiid.
It took Dwight about 5 years to realize that he needs to just be a bench energy guy, but with the Lakers last year and the Sixers this year, he's been really good in that role. Should the Warriors tank the rest of the season? This one coming from Texas Thumper. It's a fair question after not making major moves at the deadline.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Texas Thumper. I think what Bob Myers did at the NBA trade deadline, he admitted, okay, we're silently selling. We are simply not good enough right now because other than Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins is playing better, and I think he deserves more credit than he gets.
He's been a good defender this year.
Draymond Green, liability offensively, still really good defensively and as a leader, and just has a wonderful basketball IQ. But other than that, it's just a bunch of guys, right? Yeah. So I think the Warriors' focus is building for next year when Klay Thompson gets back.
You're not going to tank intentionally, but what you're going to do is start playing your young guys have your minutes. Nico Mannion, Jordan Poole, Clay Wiseman, 30-plus minutes a night. Get these guys in there, and if the result of that is you lose a bunch of games, so be it. You get a higher draft pick. I think this team, if healthy, add another piece this offseason, can come back and contend next year. So should the Warriors tank for the rest of the season? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. You don't want to tank with Steph Curry, but you got to be realistic as well. So get your votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Should the Golden State Warriors tank for the rest of this season? Jackson Fulton, outside of Cade, both Jalen's, Jonathan, and Mobley, who you got? I'd probably go Suggs just because I think guard-wing combos are better than bigs in today's NBA, and they're more of them hit than bigs do, but Mobley's a fun player.
Yeah, so is he saying outside of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Suggs and Jalen Green
you're right. That
and
is what
Mobley?
Saying.
Oh, wow.
How about Davion Mitchell? He might be the safest player in the draft.
I am so high on Davion Mitchell, and if I was running an NBA franchise and I had some solid pieces at number 5, I would think about taking him that high.
I don't think he can be a superstar, but I think his floor is like an energy guy off the bench. You know what I mean? Where he's at least going to be a rotation player.
A lot of people compare his game, and it does look like Donovan Mitchell's. If you go back to Donovan Mitchell's career at Louisville, he wasn't a 25-point-per-game night.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ripped his efficiency. Davion Mitchell, he's not a 25-point-per-game guy. I think he averaged around 14, but we're looking at potential here, and, man, that dude can defend.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. JAE, do you think the Celtics shouldn't have traded and waited for a better player in the off-season? What do you mean? Instead of Fournier?
Look, Fournier's on an expiring deal. So
they gave up 2 seconds.
Yeah, if you want to let him walk, you can do so without any repercussions.
2 seconds isn't something that's going to set you back as a franchise.
No.
It's just not. So I thought it was a great value signing and a good, hey, if you ball out for 2 to 3 months, we'll probably re-sign you. If not, we gave it a try, it didn't work out, and we lost 2 G League players. So that's pretty much how that goes. So the next couple of months will be interesting when it comes to the Boston Celtics as they try to, there's still opportunity here to move up in the Eastern Conference.
And I think there's no doubt that Danny Ainge, Brad Stevens look at the talent on that roster and they're like, look, if we can get it together, we can still make a run in the NBA playoffs. So, look, Fournier, they needed to bring a player in like that to fortify their bench, and that was the thought process there.
Corshawn Smith, if the Warriors drafted LaMelo Ball, they wouldn't have been in this situation,
That's
I'm guessing, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's fair. Look, I thought LaMelo was a fun prospect. No one thought he was going to be this good right away. I mean, you have ESPN releasing best potential under the age of 25, and he's like number 3 on their list. Did anyone think he would be this electric?
Yeah, well, an absolute crime that they had LaMelo Ball ahead of Devin Booker.
Yes.
That's just a crime
Yes.
right there. I mean, somebody should be arrested for that. But CS, nice initials, because I got the same initials. Yeah, I mean, if the Warriors did draft LaMelo Ball, they would be in a much better spot. But as we know, evaluating these prospects, it can be impossible. It's an exact science.
And it's not like Wiseman sucks.
No,
like, he's been
gonna
good.
Be good.
He's improving. LaMelo, I believe,
10 in the first half against the Bucks.
LaMelo will be better, but I think Wiseman's going to be just fine. Now, today's show is presented by the Newsbreak app. Chase, I know you are a big fan of this product. Chat Sports has partnered up with these guys. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what Newsbreak is all about?
Yeah, so if you go to chatsports.com/newsbreak, download the Newsbreak app on your iPhone or your Android. The beauty of the Newsbreak app, you can get everything on one single feed. We're talking news, weather, pop culture, entertainment, food, everything that's kind of happening in your neighborhood. You type in your zip code, and everything is kind of aggregated on one single feed, and that's the great feature of this app. It offers so much, and for me, like, I'm a guy who obviously loves sports, but I have interests outside of sports. So how do I stay up to date with everything that's going on in the world, including my interests like music, food, entertainment? I just kind of organize it all in the Newsbreak app, and it's right there for me.
Here's what's great about the Newsbreak app, too. It's going to base it on your zip code, your city, and it's going to send you stories and updates on stuff going on in your community. Like Chase said, politics, news. They have a sports page as well. You can find videos from various Chat Sports channels also. Chatsports.com/Newsbreak. Go ahead and use that link and download the app today. Ray Long, just letting y'all know, Jokic is the runaway MVP. If he's healthy and balls out the rest of the year, he's probably the front runner just because of health alone. All the other top guys have missed time.
Yeah, runaway, I'm not sure about that
I
because
agree.
Before LeBron and Embiid got hurt, it was those three really in the thick of
and really
things
those two
in that
ahead
MVP
of Jokic.
conversation.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I mean, I'm looking at the Joker's numbers as currently constructed as we record this on Friday, April 9th. I mean, 26-plus points per game, almost 11 rebounds, and almost 9 dimes for a center. Think about that. 9 dimes as a center. This guy is like a unicorn. He's next level.
This is one of the most unique players we've ever seen.
Ever, dude.
It's not even close.
The body composition, you'd see him, you're like, he's a pudgy Pillsbury doughboy. But he's fantastic.
He's awesome to watch. Fun player, and yeah, he might win MVP. Rashard Lee, is Luka back in the MVP talks?
Take that one.
I think he's a secondary candidate right now. The Mavs are playing a lot better. If Dallas can get up into the top 4 or 5 of the West, which is not completely out of the realm of possibility, it could happen. But he's going to need some help. Like, Jokic would have to miss some time probably. Curry would have to miss some time. Harden would have to fall back a little bit. Like, he's probably fifth or so right now, I would say.
Yeah.
He's a secondary candidate. There's still a gap there, though, between he and the top guys. But he's been fantastic the last 2 months or so. Who should win MVP? Predict it for us. It's a deep candidate pool this year. Jokic, Embiid, Steph, LeBron. Probably not LeBron because he's hurt, but James Harden, we've been talking about in the office, is a guy who's been red hot the last 2 months. You going Jokic?
I think it's the Joker. I think you take him away from the Nuggets, and this is how I measure MVP. How would that team be if you took that respective player out of the lineup?
That's not a playoff team, I don't think.
The Nuggets would stink.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. Caden Safke, should the Blazers trade McCollum this offseason for a defensive star? They could re-sign Norman Powell to take CJ's spot and trade CJ for a player like Ben Simmons. I've said for a while they should keep Dame and CJ together, but I'm kind of starting to wonder if you feel like, okay, let's give Damian Lillard the best chance to win here. He's the ultimate loyal guy, this and that. this might be around the time where you consider this if you're Portland. Like, say they're one and done in the playoffs. To his point, you trade for Norman Powell, who can score and be that two-guard as well. Maybe this is the time to go trade McCollum and either go get a legit 3-and-D guy or another piece as well.
Everybody tried to follow the same formula as the Golden State Warriors, and they wanted to land two guards. But it's not always effective because oftentimes two guards in a lineup who are ball dominant and ball centric, like Dame Lillard is, like CJ McCollum is, it's hard for them to mesh.
And neither of them defend well.
I'll say this. If the Blazers go out in the first round and the Sixers have an ugly playoff out, maybe the Sixers look to bring in CJ McCollum. And how do you land a player like that? You acquire Ben Simmons.
That'd be interesting. It'd be very, very fascinating. I think this playoff year is so critical for a lot of teams because I think there could be some big names on the move this offseason. Now we're going to answer a couple of more questions, but if you don't get your questions answered, have no fear because Chase and I are on Twitter, and you can send us your questions. He's at Chase_senior. I'm at HGramNFL. I'm getting DMs for you guys all the time. What do you think about this trade idea? What do you think about this team? We'll answer them all. We get a lot of them, so stay patient with us. We'll get to them. We get NFL questions too. At HGramNFL. He's at Chase_senior. Go ahead, slide in the DMs. They're always open. We'll answer whatever questions you may have. Couple more here. Alan Krabs, if you had to pick, should the Lakers re-sign Talen Horton-Tucker or Andre Drummond? This is kind of a fascinating one, and the way I would initially answer this is TBD. If you had to pick one, I got to see what the impact of Drummond is the rest of the way, and if he's a big piece for a playoff run, maybe he's the answer.
Yeah, I'm still confused as to why the Lakers didn't include THT in a deal that would have brought them Kyle Lowry. I think you do that deal because the championship window is open right now in the present moment. I would rather sign Andre Drummond. I know Rob Pelinka and LeBron James are so high on THT, and he's a good player for sure, but I think he's going to hit the market this offseason as a restricted free agent.
Some team may throw him like $13 million a year.
Might give him like $10 to $13 million. I don't think he's worth that, and I think Drummond brings the team a little bit more value.
Everyday Jam, how far do you really think the Jazz and Suns could make it in the playoffs? Do you think their record makes them look better than they actually are? I don't. I watched these two teams play the other night, and that looked like a heavyweight bout to me. I think these are, at this point, we've played enough games. Look, I'm not saying the Suns or Jazz are going to win the West, but they're in the mix. It's not a fluke that they're the top two seeds in the Western Conference. Yeah. We have to take these teams seriously.
The casual NBA fan wants the star power in the NBA playoffs and in the NBA Finals, so they're like, we want a Lakers-Nets. That would be fireworks.
I'm fine with that, too.
If this is a Western Conference playoff matchup or finals matchup, it could be a slugfest and a really entertaining one at that.
It's going to be fun. Supreme Lord 305, what will the Celtics do in free agency? I think you look at shopping Kemba Walker.
That's what I would try to do.
What can you get someone to take Kemba's contract, free up that $28-30 million, and then go get either two $15 to $18 million guys to get some, maybe you get a big and another guard to replace Kemba, or you go all in on a max guy who could be out there.
Yeah, like I know there were some rumors that Malcolm Brogdon could be on the market. If Kemba Walker was healthy, a Kemba for Brogdon swap, I think could be good for both parties, but the injury issues are the concern for Kemba and the Celtics.
The Celtics really should have done the sign and trade for Myles Turner. That was a big miss by Danny
Ainge. He's under control too.
So tough one. Snazzy Main, top 6 man of the year candidates. I like Tim Hardaway out of Dallas. I think he's been good this year. You don't have the usual suspects. It's not going to be Lou Williams. Montrezl Harrell's played better, but I don't think it's going to be him. Gosh, I'm trying to think some of the top teams. Who's been good coming off the bench this year?
Yeah, like I do like Tim Hardaway because I think he's brought that team a lot of value. I mean, yeah, like you said, like Lou Williams, Montrez, they're not really in that conversation.
It's kind of been the same names the last 3, 4, 5 years, and that's not really the case this year. Schroeder was in that mix last year. He started for the Lakers most of this season. So I think Hardaway's in the mix. Jordan Clarkson's been really good. Thank you, producer Sam.
For the Jazz.
He's played a really big role on that
one.
team. I think that's a name that's out there as well. So he's the favorite according to the betting odds right now. So keep an eye on a couple of those names. I think the more interesting award this year is most improved because you got guys like Julius Randle, the guy up in Jeremy Grant up in Detroit, a few other guys in the mix there. So it's going to be a fun award season with MVP still open as well. Pelicans fans, should the Pels trade for Myles Turner in the offseason? I don't think that really makes sense unless you want to move Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, he would be an upgrade over Steven Adams.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yep.
Younger, less expensive.
He's better than Jackson Hayes, too. Ezra Valdez, what do you think of Kai Jones and Greg Brown? I like Kai Jones more. Greg Brown just could not get out of his own way this year at Texas. He would always get in foul trouble. Maybe you chalk that up to being a freshman in college. I don't know. I think Kai Jones is a higher energy, more athletic player.
Yeah, and I think he's a higher energy, more athletic player and maybe has much more potential than a guy like JaVale McGee.
Yeah, I like that
you
comp.
can get at the mid to late first round.
Okay. Gary Sanderson with the trade idea. Keldon Johnson to the Hawks for Gallinari and a first. Hawks play Keldon a shooting guard and have a good defensive guard. I like Keldon Johnson. If I'm the Spurs, I'm not trading a young 22, 23-year-old for Gallinari. Like, I'm keeping my young guy who's been pretty good out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I think the Spurs have to admit it might be beneficial for them to hit the reset button.
Yep.
And if you have a couple of young players like that on the roster, that's a good place to start with.
Yep. Al Matt, couple more here. Can you explain how the lottery odds work? So they changed it a couple of years ago. The top three teams all have the same percentage chance, and by top three I mean the worst three records in the league because they've tried to eliminate tanking. So if you have a bottom three record, I think it's 15% chance for all three of those teams to get the number one pick. And it's the ping pong ball thing, you know, they shake them up, all that, and it's progressively worse. Like fourth team has 12%, 15th has 10, or whatever it is. It's a trickle-down effect, but they've tried to eliminate tanking, whereas the worst record doesn't have clearly the best odds. So, you know, tanking doesn't work as much as it used to. Turd Boy, Chat Sports, what should the Spurs do? They are 2-8 in their last 10. I think Chase alluded to that a couple of questions ago. There's some young talent on this team. You got a DeJounte Murray. You got Keldon Johnson. Obviously, you bought out Aldridge. DeMar DeRozan's not part of your future. You let him go. I wish they would have tried harder to trade him. Play young guys. You know, see if you make the play. They'll be in the top 10 because there's a big drop-off from 10 to 11. Honestly, the work Pop has done to keep this a relevant-ish team the last few years, this has not been a playoff team or roster since Parker and those guys left, yet he's kept them relevant.
Yeah, he has. I mean, that's the beauty of coaching right there.
Taggart, why is there no talk for Donovan Mitchell for MVP, best player on the best team in the league? I'm just curious to hear your thoughts. You know why? And this is a fair question. Here's why. None of these Jazz guys are big stat guys. I know Mitchell puts up 24, 25 a game, but, like, he's never been the most efficient player. And I think some would argue, Chase, that Gobert's impact could actually be larger than Mitchell's on that team.
Maybe. I don't think the Jazz would be the Jazz without Donovan Mitchell.
I agree.
And look, should he be in the MVP discussion if we're talking about the top 10 betting odds?
Yes.
I think so, because Donovan Mitchell is averaging around 26 points per game. He's shooting almost 39% from three. High volume there. So you're right on that, Taggart.